Hello, and welcome to IVF in Your Pocket, your emotional companion keeping it real. I'm your host, Alexandra Gary Stuck. I'm a therapist in San Francisco, California, passionate about helping people navigate the IVF journey. And I'm here to answer your questions, keeping things simple and offering concrete, clear tips and tools to help navigate along the really intense journey. Thanks so much for being here. This question comes from R. R writes in saying he just started the IVF process after a long time debating whether he wanted to embark on this as a way to build his family, because he comes from a family that does not believe in IVF as a way of building a family. And he says, I don't know what to do about that. It's been something that has prevented me from starting sooner. I don't know if I should tell them about embarking on the IVF journey. Thank you so much, R, for your question. I really appreciate it, and I think it's one that comes up often for people going through IVF. It's a really hard decision to start when you don't feel you have support from the people who love you. It's a really brave step to be taking, and I appreciate your question. I think for those who have supportive family or for those who don't, there's kind of a similar process that is important to think about around whether to tell family, friends, or not. And if you are going through this process with a partner, of course, this becomes a process that the two of you need to think about together. You don't mention that in your email. So I'm going to assume that you're doing this on your own. But if you do have a partner, the first step is to talk to your partner and for the two of you to get a plan. And if you don't have a partner, there's still an assessment process that's needed. And I think there's really two questions to ask yourself in this assessment question, which is telling family and friends going to help me emotionally in this process, or is it going to hinder? Is it going to get in the way? So there's this question of, is it going to help to tell them and have them disapprove but maybe over time change, or have them disapprove but still be able to support me despite not believing in this as a way to build? You probably have an answer to that. And that's important because there's already so much going on in the journey. You don't need to deal with the extra stress of people being unsupportive and disapproving. Oftentimes, people who are disapproving are just honestly confused or uneducated, not all the time. And so there is a piece in this assessment process that might be, if they have more education or knowledge about what this is or what this can really mean for me and my life, might they be more open? So that's one thing to consider. And do I want to do that? Do I want to be the person describing and educating, or does that feel like too much burden? Will they be receptive to the information that I want to offer about IVF and how IVF works and how this is a very normal way to build a family? The other thing to think about is kind of looking at your family as a whole. Maybe they don't approve of IVF or think this is a viable way to build a family as a whole, but is there someone individually that you might trust, or that might have a different opinion than the rest of the family, and telling them might really help you. They might really be an ally in the process and is someone you trust. Obviously, this would have to be someone you trust who could offer support and not necessarily get all the other family members involved and then create an obstacle for you. So is there someone in particular in the family that you feel comfortable with and could trust and know that that one person is really all that you need to get through the journey? The other thing, of course, is this question of waiting. Does it make sense to just wait, hope that you have success, and then see how things are then with a new family member? Sometimes the way the family member arrived becomes less irrelevant in the joy of the new family member. That's something to think about. Of course, it's then very difficult and lonely to go through this support, this journey without family support. And so it means it's really important to rely on other sources of support. And so it's also important to assess, what are your sources of support going to be? Is that a support group? Are those a set of friends that might be very open and understanding to this process? Is that a therapist? Is that a coach? Is that a massage therapist, an acupuncturist, a healer of sorts? It's really important to know who you can rely on around this journey, which may not be the people you have relied on for other things. So it's hard to assess that at the beginning. There's a lot of learning around what feels comfortable and what is less comfortable, what is helpful, what is more of something that hinders. You learn a lot about that going through the process. Sometimes people going through the journey can feel not so helpful. It can start to feel competitive. So it's all about what's going to work for you and trying to assess that at every step in the journey, but particularly at the beginning, getting a sense what's going to help, what's going to hinder. And it's okay to not tell anyone. That is also an option. And really rely on your therapist and or care team to get you through, if that feels that is going to be the best option. One thing to know is obviously once you tell, it's hard to take it back, and then that can feel like a lot of pressure. Some people feel a lot of pressure once they've told people, particularly if people are reaching out and wanting updates. That can feel like a burden, so it's good to keep that in mind. And another thing to assess if you decide you're going to tell family and close friends is how you want to tell them. How you want to tell them. And in that, you have every right to say, hey, this is what I'm going through, and I don't want to talk about it when we meet. So you want to think about that. Do you want to tell people in person what you're going through if you've decided to tell people? Do you want to send people a text? Do you want to write an email? Do you want to make it funny? Do you want to make it serious? Do you want to announce on social media? I mean, there's all kinds of ways, but it is important to have some consciousness about it so that you can get something that feels as good as it can, knowing that you can also change your mind throughout the journey. So you might start off not telling anyone, and then tell a few people, and then decide, oh gosh, this was more of a burden than I wanted it to be. I'm going to have to let them know I don't really want to talk about this anymore. Or it could be the opposite. You decide you tell people, this is what I'm going through. I don't really want to talk about it. I want to just have life be as it's always been between us. And then decide that you actually really want to talk about it. And so let them know, actually, this is consuming me. It does a lot of people. And I want to be able to talk about it. And I hope you ask me how it's going. So people do need a lot of direction. Also, people say insensitive things. They're mostly so well intended, but they just don't know about this. And it's really hard to know about this if you haven't been through it. It's a very kind of unique set of experiences in some way. And so people say things meaning well that really have a edge to it. And so it can just be helpful for people to have a little bit of guidance from you about what you might need on the journey. I created a handout called MAD. I'll include those in the show notes. You can hand that out or take some version of that of basically what not to say to people going through the journey. And there's a lot of good ones in there, kind of typical common things people say that are frustrating and infuriating without them kind of realizing it, such as congratulations before you enter into a transfer or your, So things like that can be quite frustrating. And finally, it's good to know and remind yourself you get to change your mind about who you want supporting you, how you want them to support you. This is an ongoing question. Things are up and down on this journey typically. You might start off feeling one way and then change your mind and decide, no, actually, I really need a different kind of support, and that's okay. It's just important to keep checking in and seeing, what do I need? Is there a gap? How do I fill that gap? What's going to help? What's going to hinder? All right, Ara, thank you so much for this really crucial, important question. I hope you get the exact support that you're looking for. That concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening. Please send me your questions at alexandrapsychotherapy@gmail.com or find me on my website, Alexandra Gary Stock. I will try to answer all your questions and incorporate one in the upcoming episode. Until then, remember, you are not alone.